with sleep, these little tiny 0.1% all add up.
Yeah.
And a sport like ours, when we're going to 1,000ths of a second, it's like...
Leigh Hoffman.
Track cycling, Olympic bronze medalist, world champion, world record holder, and Commonwealth Games gold medalist.
You listen to Mamba mentality, Kobe sort of stuff, and you're like, they're not training like that. So where's this disconnect?
That sort of stuff, like you wouldn't enjoy gym training if you are really chronically overtraining, and then from that the laziness occurs because you're just so overtrained. You come home from an 8-hour work schedule and trying to go to the gym and you're not enjoying it, and then it's just slow. If I was an athlete who wasn't doing the cycling and wasn't labelled as podium, which is your highest classification of athlete, it drops down to I think 28 grand, no medal bonus and no extra money from our cycling federation. So 28 grand per year, almost half of Olympic athletes have. It's a mind-boggling stat, and if it is true, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm better than people. 44%,
Exactly,
that's almost half the field.
Yeah.
That would be juice.
Olympic bronze medalist, world champion, world record holder, and a Commonwealth Games gold medalist at 24.
Yep.
There's a little list going on there. But take it back. Track cycling is not a very mainstream sport.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not even, especially for coming from the country.
Yeah.
Where'd that come from?
Yeah, well, just firstly, thanks for having me on. Yeah, it's
Anytime.
a massive pleasure. So I'm from Whyalla originally. So there's a concrete track in Whyalla, which is pretty random, but track cycling back in the day used to be huge. Like Edwardstown, a few other ovals here in Adelaide, they used to have like a concrete track around the footy oval. And back in the day, cycling used to be a lot bigger than what it is now. So Whyalla just has randomly got like a 270 meter track, which is just random, especially of all places like Whyalla. It's 4.5 hours out from Adelaide. So that was a kilometre up the road from my house. Originally, I wanted to become a triathlete, but I've been a sprinter in swimming, running, and also cycling as well. So that fizzled out really quick. And my brother did it first. So I really wanted to just follow him and just looked up to him. And wanted to beat him as well on a bike. But when you're younger, he's obviously 3 years older than me. So it was quicker for me. It took me a lot of years. But yeah, just going quick on a bike, I really loved. And the fact that you're doing it yourself. It's not like I loved motorbike riding growing up and everything, but the sort of passion and drive of being able to use your muscles and do it yourself, it's just like a different sort of feeling that I really, really enjoyed. Like same with running fast, but you're going twice the speed and it's just like the G's and stuff. Like I really just fell in love with it. And from there, I think we'd go to Adelaide on the indoor, which is a 250 meter wooden track. So a bit different, a lot steeper, and definitely a lot different to Whyalla out in the wind, and just totally different training there when I was younger. And from there, just like raced, state championships, a few club meets, was beating the Adelaide kids. And then in about 2015, got scouted by Sassy when I was 15. And then 16, I think went to nationals and had won the national title for like sprint. And then from there, picked up the Sassy scholarship, which was great. And I could get access to coaches, gym coaches, track coaches, bit of physio and support staff. But then Brett Aitken, who is a gold medalist in the year 2000, he sat me down and said, like with my mum, said basically like, look, we don't really want an athlete like you with pretty good potential and talent to be left in Whyalla. So yeah, we made the move up to Emmanuel, and the rest is history basically.
Into the city, the big smoke.
Yeah, that's it.
So what did tracks used to be 270 meters? Is that why the outdoor ones
apparently it's like a weird sort of thing where it's like 1/10 of a mile. It's a weird sort of style,
American
I think.
Sort of style.
Yeah. Like normally tracks are always 250 meters. Yeah. You have the occasional 333 meter in the US, which is another weird one. And then from there, a 400 meter or a 500 meter outdoor ones. But for Olympic events, it's always 250 meters.
Yeah. And so you said it's way steeper.
Yeah. So it's kind of got different angles. So like Adelaide track would be like that sort of thing, like up to 42 degrees. Cool. The Whyalla one would be about 35. So the steeper it is, the quicker you can go.
All indoor tracks the same?
No, so it's a weird thing because people think that it's like athletics where it's 400 meter track. That's it.
Yeah.
So they're always 250 meters for Olympic events, but every single track in the world is built slightly differently. And there's two sort of companies or people that build these tracks, and like no track is the same. So the entry angle and exit angle are different. The heights of the track can be different. So Paris most tracks in the world are a standard of 6.5 meters tall.
Yep.
Paris is 8 meters tall.
Wow.
So when you're doing your flying 200 to come down the track, you're getting an extra 2 meters of like downforce basically. So it makes you quicker. And yeah, like it's such a weird thing because they kind of look the same when you think of a velodrome. You're like, oh yeah, that Pringle shape sort of track, like an oval, but yeah, they're all different straights, different bends, like different curves, everything. Yeah.
There you go. I reckon I watched the track cycling at the Olympics for like since I can remember
every
single year and never realized
it's all the same. Yeah, yeah.
Because it looked on TV as well.
Exactly
like, because
right.
you can't see the
angles and stuff. But in person, like my girlfriend who's only seen like 3 tracks in her life, like she goes, oh yeah, now that I've seen them in person, you can tell a difference. Yeah, okay. You can tell that Melbourne is like a lot tighter and Brisbane is like got shorter straights, so it's a bit more of a bowl track, and Adelaide is the opposite. Like they're all different. It's a weird thing. Yeah.
How does that go for like world records and records in general then?
Yeah, well, it gets even more complicated when you take into environmental conditions. So the higher above sea level you go, the thinner the air is and the quicker you go. So basically as a standardization, they have about 500 meters after like above sea level. After that, your world record is kind of not like a sea level world record. So yeah, like, and conditions as well play a massive effect, like humidity, air pressure and air density. Like the lower the air density is, the quicker you'll go. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. So world records, I think a few went in Paris, which is pretty good, but amazing conditions.
Yeah.
Good track. So a bit of a perfect storm.
Like because of, once again, that higher.
Yep.
They're just the height of the walls more, so you cut down more,
exactly
like
right. For sprint specifically was really good, but for endurance, most of the track records are set in I'm going to butcher the name, but Aguascalientes in Mexico, and the track is at 2,400 meters high. So the air up there is super thin.
Yeah,
and for endurance, being that high, you can't, the altitude problem, but they're going that quick that 4 minutes isn't quite the issue at 4 kilometers.
Yeah, okay.
So they take the speed advantage from that. So most of the track records were set there, but slowly as tech's gotten better, more and more sea level world records are being broken. But yeah, like so many, I could deep dive into so many different things that you wouldn't really think about as a normal viewer.
Yeah, like so when you're talking tech, you're talking bike, helmets.
Yeah, bike, wind tunnel testing, position, body position, and also modern training as well.
So how much body position, like how is that something you're like here? And now at Sassy, they've at the near the athletic stadium building that new wind tunnel and everything there. So you would be in there and you would physically be like sitting on the bike riding with wind hitting you, and they're trying to analyze to see what the best position is. Then you replicate that out.
Yeah, and we do about 15 to 20 runs, and just each time we try and test something different, like bit helmets, bits of tech, different arm positions. Because when you think about it, like we're testing our speeds at like 80 kilometers an hour. So it's basically pushing 80 kilometer an hour wind at you.
Jesus.
So if you're driving on the highway, you put your arm out, you feel that wind really press against you. I mean, if you put your arm flat, you feel your arm almost cut through the air. So that's what we're trying to do with our bodies, is try and get it as streamlined as possible so we can just cut through the air and slice through, so we can hold the same power and just hold it for longer and go quicker.
80k. So that is 80k's an hour, like an average speed of like your 250 or top speed?
So for my 200 meter flying, the average was 79. So I still peak at about 85 and then die out at about 75-ish.
How long does it take you to get up to that?
So
top speed?
Basically we roll around for 3 laps. So 750 meters, and the time counts as the last 200 meters. So the roll up's probably a minute and a half. You start from 0, your coach pushes you up the track.
Yeah.
You got 2 laps to wind it up, and the last lap is like the sprint lap, and they take your top speed. So yeah, and at the Olympics I qualified with a 9.245, and that was 4th in the world. And then the 3 guys who went quicker than me all broke the Olympic record. So I was so close to that Olympic record as well. I really wanted to beat that, but unfortunately, there was 3 other guys quicker.
Depends what you do on the day, doesn't it?
Exactly.
But that's the event you've got the world record for.
No, so the event I've got the world record for is in the team sprint, which is like the relay on the bikes.
Oh, yeah.
And I do the first lap, which is from a standing start from 0 to 250 meters. And that's done in 16.86 seconds.
But that's dead. Like,
from a dead start, momentum. From the gate, basically. Like,
shit. And that's where obviously the extreme, obviously leg power, leg speed, really important in general. Like I've seen you fucking squat like 230 kilos. And just go, no worries. I was like, same man, cool. But like obviously that standing start, that static is you really need that power.
Yeah. So basically what we all train is like for power, strength and acceleration, and also speed as well. So the efforts that we do is we're always focusing on either an acceleration based effort, a speed based effort, or power and also strength. Or did I say strength at the start?
Maybe.
Anyway, that's
a big focus.
And yeah, when we're in our gym, we're trying to replicate that.
Yep.
So as the season starts up, we're really focusing on just peak lower lean muscle mass. We're trying to put on as much lower lean muscle mass without putting any on top of the upper body. So we don't do any upper body at all except core.
How do you deal with that?
Yeah, I know it's a bit different. Got the T-Rex build going, but
it's better than being the other way around where you're like jacked upper body, no legs. So
yeah, so when we're trying to put that lower lean mass, we're trying to use that to convert that into power. And with that as well, like as you said, I've squatted 230 before, but normally when people say about PB, you know, they're really like struggling and grinding it out, where my PB is really like I've probably got more in the tank, but we're not really allowed to go to sort of that sort of failure 1RM sort of pace, because we're not doing that on the bike, you know, where it's power, it's strength, it's fucking quick. So
still repeat
that
effort.
230 is like, yep, that's a good sort of speed, which is about that 0.5 meters per second.
Yeah.
If you have you used GymAware before?
A little bit,
yeah. So we'd normally stay around that 0.6 range.
Yeah.
Which is like pretty quick, really.
So for people that don't understand what that is, that's where you got something on the barbells. Nowadays they can have the radar ones as well, like lasers, but you've also the one that you set it up on the floor,
we just got
and they got the wire, and then as you go, that's tracking the speed of the barbell.
Yep, correct. So we always have got our sort of our targets and stuff to hit, and if we go under a certain velocity, then we know it's time to bring the weight down a bit and focus a bit more on that velocity. But like just trying to keep it above that 0.6 is the sweet spot we've found for track cycling.
Is that something that you could monitor recovery as well? If your speeds are way down, you might be like, well, why? Like it's, you know, you're just not recovered, you've been doing too much, or you're not sleeping well.
Yeah, definitely. Like if we're coming into sort of a more heavier week, then it's just keeping it within that range. You know, for a fact, if we weren't doing all this fatigue and stuff on the track bikes, which sends us a lot deeper into a hole than the gym training does, and our coach will say, all right, like stay within this range of this sort of velocity, and if you go under, then drop the weight. You all got to keep it all within perspective of, oh, it feels bad, I'm not hitting this weight, I should crush this easy, you know, like say for example 170 for 6 at this like velocity, and if you're not hitting it, it's no big deal. Like really just 160, you're still getting the same stimulus, really. But it's hard for the head though, because you're just like, I should be hitting this easy, but when you're doing so much gym and track training, the fatigue really can set in.
So what's a week like your off season look like then, the structure of that, and then coming into a competition like the Olympics, how does that vary to taper and peak?
So I think for the Olympics, our last sort of qualifying event was it's a 2-year qualification process, and our last event I think was Hong Kong in about March. So we had probably 3 months to lead into the Olympics, which is like a really nice big build. So at the start of that, it's almost got the seesaw effect of, at the start, we're really banking a lot of gym and less track. And as it gets slowly close to a competition, it will level out, where gym and track is pretty level. And then really close to competition, it's mostly track and slowly cut out gym. So at the start, it would be around 4 gym sessions a week and 2 track sessions. So Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and then having that 2 days of rest on the weekend just to really fully recover. And then as it gets closer, 3 and 3, and then really close to racing, probably down to 2 gym and 3 to 4 track, really. And with that, exercises starts off as full depth, and as we get really close to the pointy end, less depth, more power, more like, you know, the zappiness comes in. And with that as well, the exercises, the depth cuts as well.
So that's where you might be doing like you have like the safety bars up, doing like those top range of motion, sort of split squatty
exactly
sort of movements, all
that's
that.
It.
Like replicating almost the same range of motion that you're doing on a bike.
Yep, exactly right.
Yeah, interesting. And I guess like it's interesting hearing that. Like, I mean, some people, you know, they're like, I go to the gym 6 times a week, all this sort of stuff. And you put in the context, you're like, 4 gyms, 2 track sessions, you go, oh, I thought it might have been more. Some people
definitely say that a lot. Like, and right now, as I'm pretty close to racing now, I think it's about 7 weeks out. So we're doing 3 gym, 3 track. And I have 4 rest days a week. So most of my training days are only 3 training days where we do gym and track, and the rest are rest days. Where people go, oh, you don't train that much. Like, but the thing is, we are pushing our bodies so hard on those training days that 2 days on Tuesday and Thursday are full recovery days where I've got such bad DOMs and we need that full just recovery. Like, would be great if we could all do the East German training method, which involves some drugs and you can just keep pumping it out. But unfortunately, people don't realize that modern athletes prioritize rest over anything.
Yeah.
Like, totally different these days.
What's his name? Matt Fraser, the CrossFit Games, like he won like 6 or 7 CrossFit Games or whatever he said, is like, if like sleep pretty much should be a banned substance. Like if it's that effective, that it should be a banned substance. Exactly, so if you're not prioritizing not just sleep, but also just the doing nothing for physical, doesn't mean you can't, like you have to sit on the couch and be a slob.
Exactly right.
Like it just means not, putting yourself through the grind, I guess, all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I guess, you listen to very easily watching, like Mamba mentality, Kobe sort of stuff. And you're like,
yeah, I'm not
feel
up
like you can get
at 4 a.m.
into
doing like squats or something.
Yeah. And I'm like, look, maybe was reality, but I just find it so hard to believe talking to people like yourself, and I've spoken with other professional athletes, and you go, they're not training like that. So where's this disconnect? Because then normal people think that that's possible, and they kind of try and incorporate that into their work plus their training lifestyle. You can't. You literally can't.
With people with normal jobs as well, like it's just how to send yourself into a hole, and you don't enjoy that sort of stuff. Like you wouldn't enjoy gym training if you are really chronically overtraining, and then from that the laziness occurs because you're just so overtrained. You've come home from an 8-hour work schedule and trying to go to the gym, and you're not enjoying it. And then it's just slowly going down into that hole. So as I said, sleep is great, basically.
Is that something you had to like mentally, like especially getting into the sport at a younger age, and say like you finish school, 18, 19, and you're just like this testosterone filled man that just wants to go. How did you tame that to kind of be like, no, like when I go, and when I rest, I rest?
Yeah. I think for me, it's just always looking at the bigger picture. Like I always knew at a young age that I could really get to the highest level in my sport, which is the Olympics. And for me, representing my country is the most pride that I can get, really. So that was just the bigger picture. So from that, there was a lot of sacrifice early on in those developing years when, everyone's drinking and partying and having fun. And I would occasionally go to 1 or 2, but majority of it I would miss out. And I would miss it, but at the end of the day, not many people can call themselves an Olympian or an Olympian bronze medalist. So that was the price I had to pay. But it's definitely has formed me into who I am today, and the prioritization that I have today, where training pretty well trumps everything and recovery trumps everything. Like for us in 2022, when the team of Australia with the 2 other sprinters, we won the World Championships, we won by 0.04. And then the next year, we lost the World Championships by 0.04. And it was just like
what is that like when you're looking at the photo finish? What are we talking?
So because we're going about 80k an hour at the finish, it's probably about a foot, I'd say, because about a tenth is about a whole bike length. So half of a tenth. So it's about a wheel or half a wheel, I'd say, which is nothing really.
Yeah, watch that in like sight, and it's just they went together. It's not until you take the photo.
When you see the fast motion of it, it's just like it's a dead heat basically. And then the photo finish of both sides, you can see, Australia's won this year. I mean, 2023, Netherlands have won the World Championships. But that's the thing, like, if I didn't prioritize all this sleep, these little tiny 0.1% all add up.
Yeah.
And a sport like ours, when we're going to a thousandth of a second, like, we saw in the 100-meter sprint at the Olympics.
Yeah.
It was basically a dead heat. When they went to the photo, and it went to just by Noah Lyle's like head was just a little bit more. Yeah. Stuff like that. What if he wasn't wearing his watch? Maybe he would have gotten up to speed that 0.01 quicker, like little stuff like that.
Wouldn't you, how much sleep would you lose over thinking, maybe if I'd shave my head, maybe if I...
Yeah, well, that's why I did shave my head, actually. I tried to get rid of some more weight. That was my little stressful thing. I was like, shit, I'm going to drop some more weight and shave my head,
Was that in the village? Just like
the week we left, like the day of like leaving for Portugal for a pre-event camp, went to the barbershop, shaved my head, went home, went on the scales, and I lost 100 grams. So I was like, that's good. Like 100 grams is quite a lot, considering.
So how much? What's kind of average weight of body weight of most people?
So for me, I'm normally around the 93 mark. the highest fat percentage I've been in my time at the Australian cycling team, because we've got records, DEXA scans since like 2020 when I joined, was 10%, which for me is fat.
Which in context is not fat.
I will drop down to about 89.5 for racing. So mixture
like 8%?
Of, about 7-point high, which, skin folds about 36, 37 mil. Obviously skin folds is person to person and stuff like that, but DEXA don't lie, basically.
That's facts.
So mixture of just slowly calorie cutting. We're not doing as much training as well, so you don't need to eat as much. And also with that, like a low res diet as well, which drops a lot of gut sort of biome and stuff. Yeah. And for us, it's a power to weight sport. So being as light as possible and as powerful as possible increases your power to weight, which makes you go quicker, which wins medals.
A common theme that, like, say, I know that I've lost it. You obviously know his name, Netherlands guy that won like, what did he win, like 3 gold medals or whatever? You know, like, is he lighter than most people, or is he just fucking massive legs?
He's probably about 6 foot, so he's a little bit shorter than me. But with height and stuff doesn't really have a correlation in track cycling. You see a lot of people that are smaller of stature are quicker, and people who are massive. Like there's one Russian Israeli now who's 6'8", and on a bike he's huge, right? And he still goes the same speed as like Matthew Richardson, the other Aussie, who's 5'8", maybe. I think he's pretty short, but when we're up to speed, like aerodynamics has a major play, but also your power to weight has a major play. But Harry Levrayson, who won 3 gold and in Tokyo won 2 gold and a bronze, he's generational. And I think he's just got, everyone is super elite. And I'm saying this from the man who got 4th, like that. From 4th to 1st is hardly anything in it, but he just seems to be, can hit really high power. But someone like me who can hit high power, he can just hold it for that tiny bit longer, and that produces medals. But we're all talking like minuscule little bumps in power and stuff, but that's all it takes, really. And that's a difference between 3 gold and a bronze and a 4th, basically.
Wow. So what do you think then? For you, what do you have to do training wise so you've got the power, you've got the strength. How do you now hold it for longer?
I think for me, it's just increasing that muscle mass as much as I can. We know that for a fact that the more lower lean mass you have, the more power you can output. So for me, this next sort of 4-year cycle, it's going to go right into that and leaning into it, because my strength coach has said, who's got like a PhD, he's a very smart man. He reckons I can push this fat mass a bit higher and see if we can put on more muscle mass. And if I have a bit more fat mass, it's fine, because 10% is still pretty not that much for many people would die for that. For me, I think I still put out probably one of the highest output of powers in the world. But if we can just increase my strength by 10-fold, that we can hope the rest of the world hasn't increased theirs. So it doesn't matter if I can't hold it for as long. If I can burn that candle really quick, then it doesn't matter if my candle doesn't burn half as long. Like
well, you get like your average speed would still be then higher.
Exactly.
Your average output would still be higher.
Speed quicker.
So
I think that's the plan we'll go for this next 4 years is all acceleration based.
Is that why also like you're the lead in the team sprint because you've got that faster acceleration? So how important? What about second and 3 guys in the team sprint? So why would someone go second and third then? So we know why someone goes first.
So second is sort of your hybrid athlete who's got that really good start, because they have to get on the first man, and they've also got to do sprint for 500 meters. So for track cycling, as you've seen, it's three men in the team sprint, and each one does 1 lap. But that last man is actually sprinting 750 meters, which in seconds, it's 42 seconds, which for an all-out sprint is probably exactly like the 400-meter run. So it's like if you had a 100-meter runner, a 200-meter runner, and a 400-meter runner doing a race, and they're all sprinting. Like, that's what it's like, but on a bike. So aerodynamics make it a bit more into it, because in a running race, it would just be impossible. Like that 400-meter runner would definitely just get popped out the back.
Oh, yeah.
So, Matt Glaetzer, who's our third wheel, his sort of physiology is more into the sort of longer sprinting, that 400-meter runner sort of style. Can still put out crazy watts and stuff, but just his laps is 3 laps. So he has to sprint for 42 seconds. I'm only sprinting for 16.8. So we train quite differently. And with that as well, Matt actually got dropped. We didn't know how quick we were going in first and second wheel, that Matt in all of our rides kind of got dropped off the back, which means we didn't qualify for the gold silver ride-off. And with that as well, we ended up swapping me into the second wheel. So we moved Matt, who's like the 400-meter runner, into the gate. And I went into second wheel and Richo went into third wheel. Yep. So we switched it up and it paid off because we got the bronze medal.
Yeah.
And did the second fastest time of the whole competition. So it's
Isn't that so annoying when you do that?
Yeah, because we knew like this gold silver was going to be the battle, but we never qualified for the gold silver write-off. We were in the bronze. And then we switched up the order and what do you know? We won the bronze and had the second fastest time. So it's like this massive catch-22. But unfortunately, we didn't know that me and Matthew Richardson in first and second had a really perfect Olympic prep and were so strong, and we just kept throwing more gear at me because normally me in first wheel rides a smaller gear because I've got to get the team up to speed, and we kept putting the gear bigger and bigger in both our qualifying ride and our next ride to get into the gold silver, and it just wasn't enough basically. So we did a switch up of position. So it was hard for me as well because I've only trained for 250 meters for this whole 16-week prep. And all of a sudden, I've got to do 500 meters. So I go from training only, about 17 seconds to now I've got to ride 29. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but you've got the 100-meter sprinter who's now going to run the 200-meter sprint. Yeah. It's quite different.
And when you're talking like percentage-wise, like once again, if you go like X amount of seconds, doesn't sound much, but you're like X percentages increase, you're like, oh, that's a decent amount.
Yeah, exactly right. Hefty. So I could still do it. Like I've still a well enough trained athlete that for doing that for once is fine. But if I had to do it more, if I had to do all 3 rides, I feel like I would have felt that fatigue and popped off. But yeah, did the time and I'm celebrating and I'm like, oh shit, my legs are actually burning for once. Because after 17 seconds, I'm not really getting that really lactic burn. It's all within that power phase. You don't really quite hit it. And I was like, started celebrating, helmet off, and then, oh shit, my legs. And then had to get off straight away and hop on the rollers. Like, it was just a different feeling that I haven't felt for that last 16 weeks. It's just completely different efforts.
So is that something that now you continue to play into that position, that role?
Yep, correct. So now Matthew Richardson has basically gone to Great Britain, which is a whole other story.
Really?
Yeah, so pretty interesting sort of thing. He's won a couple medals for Australia. So he won silver in the sprint, silver in the Kieran, and also the bronze medal for the team sprint. And now he's swapped nationality.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So now there's some pretty big shoes to fill because he qualified in second and obviously won 3 medals. I only won the 1 medal in the team event. And then in the sprint, I sort of fell apart as well. So yeah, there's some pretty big shoes to fill. But now I think it's looking like we're going to get a state institute guy in for the gate start, which will take some time to develop him to get to our level that we had at the Olympics, but we've got 4 years, which is great. And it was also good as well, testing me in that second wheel with that 500-meter sprint, showing that I can do it and win a medal for Australia. I think we're in a good place, but now my training will slowly evolve into that longer sprinting.
Yeah, I guess like you said, you got time to go into that. So what did so obviously he's British. British background, but
he moved here when he was 8. It's a pretty interesting thing. Like he told me on the phone that it's because he was born there, but I've never seen him be patriotic once. For
like why now? Hey?
I think it's a multiple things. Like he still does have family and stuff over there, but he's got family here. But his girlfriend is in Great Britain. Great Britain have basically 4 times the budget of Australia, and I think winning the silver medal against the Dutch guy, I think he's like, all right, maybe I need some better tech that can help me close that gap.
Yeah. Okay.
But with it as well, it was sort of predetermined a year in advance. He'd been sort of plotting and doing it in the background. So who knows? It could be a multiple of things. But I just got to focus on me and Australia, really.
And beat him next time.
Yeah, and exactly right. And beat him next time.
That was a bad decision. You should have stayed with us.
Exactly right.
We won the gold now.
Yeah, that's the motivation.
Yeah. There's nothing better than like rubbing in the wound sort of thing.
Yeah,
like,
especially to a pom as well.
Nothing better. Like we're talking the best of the best. Like no, that's cool. I mean, Olympic experience in general.
Yep.
How'd you find? I mean, it's your second time, but Tokyo. Yep. Like that ain't the Olympic experience.
Exactly
there was no one there.
So Tokyo, I went as a reserve. So I missed out on the racing. Still got to go over and experience it, but Tokyo was totally different. Like we went from basically flew to Sydney airport. There was no one there because it's peak COVID. Like we were the only flight. Really surreal experience going to Sydney airport and then Japan airport, and it is like a ghost town. Like fucking weird.
Some of the busiest airports in the world.
Exactly right. Because it was July 2021, then there was still so many restrictions on. And then from there, basically, like your quarantine, we did a 2-week quarantine before even going, like a bubble at a hotel in Brisbane. And then basically when we were over there, another 2 weeks of quarantine, but we're sort of racing. We're like, got cops out the front of our hotel. Like you're not allowed to do anything. Spitting in vials every day, like full, just crazy setup. And I didn't get to ride. I got to support the team, got to experience everything without riding, which was still great. I definitely could have ridden though, but with injuries within the team, that's why I was over there in case someone else's injury flared up. But yeah, just to get that experience and not ride was definitely great going into this Olympics. Then to finish off Tokyo, we went to Howard Springs for another 2-week quarantine. So 6 weeks of your life is just one big quarantine. And then on the way back from Howard Springs in the NT to Adelaide, they almost wanted to the SA government almost wanted to make us quarantine another 2 weeks.
Oh,
I know.
Like we've seen no one.
They didn't. But like, that's the thing. We've done nothing for 6 weeks.
Just been on a bike,
and
man.
we were lucky that we went to Howard Springs because some of the, like we had the charter flights back in the Olympics where it's just all Aussie, like team members and some staff. If you got stuck on that one that went to Sydney, because Sydney was still popping off with COVID or whatever, you'd had to do another 2-week quarantine back at your house in Adelaide. So some of the athletes like Anthony Dean, the BMXer, he had to do like 8 weeks of quarantine, basically. Crazy times. But now everything's back to normal. And fast forward 3 years, I get selected. Yeah, it's great. And we went to Portugal first for a pre-event camp, which we've done last year. So we tested that last year. It was no new waters. We know Portugal. It's good, like 32 degrees every day. Because track cycling was the third week of the games, we missed the opening ceremony. But at the end of the day, I probably wouldn't have gone to it because you're on your feet for like, I think Jess Fox said she was on her feet for like 6 or 7 hours, which before your event, I'm not really doing that anytime in Adelaide. Like on my rest days, just going for a 7-hour walk.
Yeah, no thanks.
Like
you got your legs up in the boots or whatever.
Yeah, exactly right. So I think there's a rumor, apparently one of the girls said for Jess Fox's training for the opening ceremony, she went to a Taylor Swift concert. And that was her training.
What a shame.
Yeah, but like, it's a bit of a, you reckon she just went to it anyway. And that was her sort of media thing as training. Because I don't think it'd be training. It'd just send you into a hole because you'd get sore and rock up to training after Taylor Swift and be like, fuck, I'm sore for dancing around.
That's so weird.
Yeah, we missed the opening ceremony, but just had our own sort of team thing in Portugal because we've got, I think, about 15 athletes of endurance and sprint. So 15 athletes, and from there another like 15 staff. So a good team environment in Portugal. Sick. Like we didn't miss anything. It would have been great if we had our uniforms with us, which we didn't actually get and wear. Yeah, I know it's a bit of a.
Oh, they were waiting in Paris.
Yeah, but you'd think they would have sent it to.
So even like polos like this or anything.
We had like a polo and that was it. But it's annoying when you see other, like there was a few other people who were like in other staging camps, they got theirs, which we didn't get ours. So I've got this blazer that I've never worn because the closing ceremony wasn't blazers. It was just
that's a
sort
pain.
of So it's like I've got this really cool, blazer and stuff. Yeah. It's just like, oh well, that can go in the closet.
It's not like you're gonna wear it anyway.
Yeah.
A lot of toss if you rock up to a wedding in there.
Like neon yellow shirt with a blazer on.
Just pull it down, like go to town in it. Let's go.
And then from there, because we were the last week of the games, we sort of flew in middle of the time. So it's definitely weird in Portugal, like the Olympics had started and we're still focusing on training and preparing. You've still got 2 weeks to sort of keep coming up and getting faster. And then flew in basically 5 days before, I think. Portugal to Paris is like nothing. It's like flying Melbourne to Adelaide. I think Melbourne to Adelaide might be like longer. I think about 2-hour flight, Portugal to Paris. Adelaide to Sydney, maybe same flight. Roughly, so nothing really. And then
you sit down and you're there.
Yeah, basically. And we're not used to that from Australia.
No.
And then from there, just getting used to the track. The track we've ridden before, I think it's probably was built in around 2010s. Okay. So I've only ridden it twice, but like we've got coaches that have ridden it. It's nothing really new. It's a cool track, fast track. And then, basically we probably got 2 to 3 training sessions in, and the training sessions you're sharing with, like, we had China, we had Italy, like.
So they like time block you?
Yeah, time block, and the track is pretty hectic. So there has been like one of the quick guys for GB in the track endurance side, he crashed.
Oh,
but luckily was okay, but it can just be chaos. So we're just trying to get in, do our couple of efforts. We're only doing, say, 2 to 3 efforts, really, nothing crazy, and just get in, get out, and then rest day before the event, the team sprint, and then team sprint qualifying was one day, and then final qualifying for the final. So another 2 rides on the second day.
Yep.
And then from there, went into individual sprint, and that went over 2 days for me. It would have gone over 3 if I progressed a little bit further in the knockouts.
Yep.
But yeah, 2 days when I was done. And then from there, just went and watched the racing, which was like really sick that we could go and watch that. I didn't get to watch any other sports, unfortunately.
Because you're at the end. Like, if you're at the start, then you could have stuck around.
Yeah, and there's nothing really on, and they're really funny about accreditation and stuff, because I think there was a few issues at Rio with like people like getting into sports and getting arrested by the Rio police and stuff.
For what? What did that?
I think there was like some fake accreditation scandal and stuff, which is
cheeky.
I think one of the boys was actually involved with it because he was riding at Rio. But I've heard a few things over the years.
Yeah.
But yeah, from there, after the racing was done for me, I had a bit of free time, saw the Eiffel Tower. Yeah. And then, because we actually had our own hotel, which is great. Like,
so you weren't in the village?
Yeah, which is a massive, massive win, because we stayed at Versailles, which is about 50 minutes out of Paris, because that's where the track is. It's at I'll butcher it with my Aussie accent, Saint Quentin, which, Saint Quentin or something like
something
that.
way snazzy.
Not Saint Quentin.
Yeah, mate, get down there, mate.
So because we're out, we had a queen bed each and our own single rooms, which is a massive win. Like, normally we would be sharing
with cardboard either.
Yeah, one like normally one person. But the last night we were in the Olympic Village, so we got to experience that. Like, it's super cool. The food hall is amazing. But for me personally, I would hate it to be there, because you've got to walk, say, 1.5 kilometers, or you can hopefully get a bike. But if there's no bikes, you're walking 1.5 km, 2 km to get your food every single meal. And you're sharing with up to 6 people in a room. So like a dorm style.
6?
Yeah. So two in each room. So normally I've got 3 rooms and a bathroom.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's 2 single beds in each room.
Yeah.
But as soon as you've put your big like luggage down, you've got no room. And I think Aussies had some air conditioners. We didn't get one on the last night. I don't know where they went. So the door's open and it's 32 degrees outside. So
wasn't that whole thing? They went like, even the food, like they went vegan,
eco-friendly. Yeah. So the food was great. I didn't have any problem. I think at the start
they changed it, didn't they? Because people complained.
At the start, they had these like big weightlifters who are obviously eating like a lot. Like, do you know Lasher? He weighs 150 keg or something.
Yeah,
so he's obviously eating a lot of meat. But by the time we got there, there was meat on tap, really. Like, there was so many different, they had different areas for your different cuisines, like your Indian and Asian, your sort of Western food, and like probably the best food I've had at comp. Cool. But the actual housing was just terrible. And everyone's seen the beds. Like, they're pretty shit.
I saw like, it was, must have been on TikTok, one of the chicks, and she like was like showing the firm and soft.
Yeah.
And she like pushed it. I was like, that shit's the same.
Nothing like at all. And they look the same as well on both sides. Like, it's just like the placebo effect. Yeah, I'll put it on the soft side and it's exactly the same.
Could you imagine if it comes out and they find it was exactly the same? We just put a label on it.
I wouldn't. It both felt like shit, to be honest. But because we only stayed there one night, and after a few beers, it did not matter.
Yeah, you're like, I'm sinking into this.
Basically.
So, well, that's I mean, because a lot of people, that would affect your ability to perform.
Oh, no
massively.
Doubt.
So,
no
like,
doubt.
that's massive that you. I mean, assuming you had the different accommodation because of where your event was, so it worked really well.
Yep, definitely.
Very lucky.
And I think most of the time for track cycling, like, velodromes are normally built outside of a city.
Yeah.
Because it's a pretty big venue. Yeah. And other than Europe, Europe is super popular with track cycling. They're normally in the city centre. But for other sort of countries and stuff, they're normally outside. Like, here, it's at Jeps Cross, because they don't really have the room to stick a big track in the middle of the city. The only one in Melbourne is Hisense Arena, which is now a tennis court, has actually got a track underneath it.
So really?
Yeah.
So they push all the seating away?
Yeah. And it's got a track underneath it.
I did not know that.
Would never get used. Yeah. See if you can Google it afterwards. It's pretty cool.
So that must have... Was there a Com Games that they needed it for, or an Olymp? No, it wouldn't have been
something old style.
I feel like there was a Melbourne Com Games in the 2000s, wasn't there? Maybe. I mean, we would have been like little tackers, but
yeah, I can't really remember that many Com Games. My brain only goes back to Delhi, I think, which is 2010.
Yeah,
that's as far as I can go.
Before that's like, I don't know, dude. I was a child. I don't remember.
Exactly right.
Yeah. What about Com Games experience? Is that what's the village experience like?
Com Games was like similar. We had our own hotel. I think Commies was a king size bed as well. So that was good.
Boys. Here we are.
Yeah. Like that's good when you go from like France in Bordeaux, when we had a staging camp in 2022 in the lead up for World Champs. That was like 2 single beds and you had no room. It was like a motel. Beautiful. And just to get your own space is great as well, because I'm not used to sleeping next to someone who snores, or sometimes I snore as well. So, and I sleep talk and stuff. It's like some funny stories at breakfast, but for when you've got like your biggest event of the year, having weird stuff like that happen, like people like me shouting stuff like sleep talking.
You're like, why are you talking dirty to me, man? That's fucking weird.
It's definitely a different environment. So Commies was your own room, and Commies it's got a similar vibe to the Olympics, but just less countries, really. Like it's still this massive event for Aussies. Aussies love Com Games. But for us, we don't. The only competitors we have is Great Britain, but they split apart into England, Scotland, Ireland, I think.
Not part of Ireland.
Or Northern Ireland or something, and Wales.
Yep.
So they kind of split apart, which is good because that's how it should be.
It's
kind of
only thinking this. I was watching it. I was like, Great Britain. I'm like, that's not even
it'd be like country. Us doing like Oceania and claiming like Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, all of those islands as one. It's pretty. I hope that changes one year, because they're too overpowered a bit for. They can just join together when they feel like it. But for Commies, they split apart, which is good.
Yeah.
But the other sort of competition at Commies is really only Canada. So for track cycling, it's probably pretty chill. Normally the European teams are the really, really good teams. Yeah. So with that as well, it was great because it's pretty chill competition. Yeah. Like it's still this big sort of thing, but we know in the back of our minds that we've got Euros over there who are really good. So it's almost like a really big club race. Yeah. Really.
So it like relieves a bit of pressure.
Yeah, definitely. Well. Like we just like, rocked up and won the gold, really. Like it was super chill. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. So I wonder, I don't even know where, like tracking back, like why Great Britain even competes.
Oh, there's got to be some reason for it. Because wouldn't we technically be Great Britain? Or whenever we've got stemmed our independence from them? Or
so I don't know. That's a weird sort of reason
I get it's like their islands, the 2 islands there, but like... Yeah,
but it's not a country.
Why can't we be the Anzacs then?
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was like, I feel like if we grabbed a few Kiwis, but also like if you're English and someone that's Scottish qualifies in your event just over you, like if you're a separate country, you both would have gone. How annoyed would you be?
Yeah, I think there's definitely like they have like underlying beef between them. Like
100%.
Because the Scots hate the English, the Irish hate the English. I think everyone hates the English, to be honest, over there. I think
Aussies hate the English.
Yeah, everyone hates like the English. Yeah. So then they've got to like bring them together and just like be one happy family and race together.
Good luck.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I'm sure it would happen like where there would be plenty of missed people.
Yeah. Like it turns them into a superpower, really. Like you've gone and split apart 4 countries. If they were individual countries, I think that Olympic medal tally would look a lot different.
Yeah.
I don't know where Great Britain finished. I think maybe 5th behind us.
Yeah. Or did we?
Because it was all USA, China, Japan Oz.
Got up there.
So we've still beaten them on per capita, and I think we've beaten everyone on per capita.
I think there's like one like small island or some shit.
Who's got 70,000 people.
And one person
one gold or something.
I'm like, so it takes one person.
I think that's like the women's, the chick that won the women's 100-meter sprint. I think her country has got like 120,000 people. Yeah, okay. So they've got one gold medal per 120,000 people, which is like, okay, the per capita thing is like,
It's funny there. We're like kind of like per capita works unless we got beaten per capita.
Yeah, but they're like, whatever. Yeah, per capita. Per schmapita, whatever.
Maybe if we like, I don't know, like pulled it. I don't know. Like, I mean, the fact that let's call it that we are second or whatever, like that's just incredible. A country of like 27 million putting it up against these people. It's nuts. Like, it's crazy.
The US, like, look at them. The amount of like funding and stuff they pump into Olympic sports.
Look at their college system.
Yeah, exactly right. And LA they'll ramp it up even more.
Oh, that's going to be, I mean, the fact that I'm like looking at the sports that they're adding in baseball, softball, and touch football.
Yeah, touch football. That's fucking bullshit. We should add in like AFL for Brisbane 2032. That's the same thing. Like,
what else? Because I mean, cricket we could do all right at, but that's a very Commonwealth sport. So that's good because there's a lot of America, they'll do trash at it. So we could beat them on that as well. Like,
that'll be pretty interesting. But it's always weird when you've got sports like that when the World Cup is their biggest sort of stage.
Yeah, yeah.
And same with soccer as well. Like soccer at the Olympics. I think for women it's pretty big, but for men it's only under 23, or you can only have a certain amount of people over that age.
Yeah. So women's is open.
Yeah, women's is open, but yeah, you'd rather win the World Cup. Like, and same with tennis as well. Like tennis is a weird one. Like, no, I don't want to throw any shade out there, but people know that, the winner of a US Open.
Yeah.
And tennis is a weird one as well because you'd rather win those things for money as well, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, definitely. Well, golf, whatever. Like,
golf as well.
Sure, they're at the Olympics, but you would, if you had the conversation with these people, it's not their main event. Like, a lot of the best aren't still there in some of those events. Like,
and Olympic basketball as well. I think most of them on the team would rather an NBA championship, I reckon.
Yeah, unless they're obviously the guys that are not in the NBA are like, I'll take it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But, that's an interesting one. I think with the basketball, it's funny. Like, you can see a team like Australia and things like that as well, like us compete against the countries like America and whatever.
Yeah.
And it just shows like, sure, they have like the depth of like so many basketballers, but our top basketballers are contending.
Still, exactly.
Like, we're up there.
Yeah, we got fourth again, didn't we?
What did happen?
I can't remember. I think against Spain.
No, we got knocked out by Serbia.
Oh, Serbia.
But I think we got knocked out in the quarters.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Maybe.
So Tokyo,
we were up by like 25 points
at
the half. And then,
But yeah, like it's great seeing Aussies do well at American sports.
Yeah, well, the women got bronze.
The American, they did too.
Yeah. Oh, dude, like the Americans just once again, like to our point of the per capita, like they're like we're the best. Yeah, I'm like, look how many people you have to choose from.
Right,
like, of course you're gonna win, and if you don't, then that's pretty embarrassing.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, I mean, interesting sort of conversation. I wonder, the common games, Melbourne. Canned it now. I don't even know what's happening with
so
that.
it was supposed to happen 2026 in Melbourne.
Yeah.
Rumor is it's going to be Glasgow, Scotland.
Is that where it was?
2014. I'm pretty sure.
So I got the facilities.
Yeah, exactly right. I think the big thing was Melbourne were going to have to build some infrastructure and stuff. And hosting a Com Games, it's not like the Olympics. And even with the Olympics, most of the time the host country does go into like negative. They don't really make money off of it, I don't think. You have to be really rich first world country to host it.
And they pay for the infrastructure as well.
Yeah.
It's not like the IOC is like, here's your money to build things.
They're like,
so.
And they have to bid for it as well. Yeah. So they have to pay the IOC for the opportunity to host it. So I think it's definitely becoming this first world sort of thing. We're not going to see Rio would be the last sort of country of that sort of caliber, I think, to host it. Because I think Rio, all of our infrastructure is totally dilapidated now.
Yeah, I've seen photos of it.
I think the track might still be there. I know the paracycling had their world championships last year there, but even just getting to Rio and like South America can be a bit dangerous as well.
Yeah, well, that's it. I think they have to take that into account as well with housing. Although then again, like it's the amount of stuff on the news of like athletes having their shit stolen and cars being broken into in Paris. Man. I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly right.
Day one BMX bang stolen. I'm
exactly
like,
right.
Like, did it feel to any extent dangerous at all? Like,
I think there was definitely a lot more from like our support staff. Like we're just talking about it all the time, like saying all this stuff, like really just attentive to everything, people following you. They basically said we can't go anywhere in team kit as well, which
because you're a target then.
Apparently, but we didn't really care. Like we went to KFC and stuff like down the road after racing. Like I mean, being like a male is probably fine.
It helps,
female is probably a bit different, but I think it was definitely weird because the first day we sort of had like flown in, there had been like a stabbing, like a gang rape and shit like this, and it's just like, what the fuck is happening?
Ride a bike, man.
Yeah, please, like please. What the fuck? Like, how is this country so fucked? Basically,
yeah. Well, that's what I probably didn't, you hear, you go, oh, Paris is beautiful, Paris is this, Paris is that. And then the news, and like especially if you go on Twitter, like it's just like a clusterfuck on there. I was like, might not be booking flights for a holiday here now, actually.
Yeah. I don't rate it. I think Paris, go there once and that's it.
Yeah.
I think south of France is really nice.
Yeah.
But basically just get out far from Paris. I think if you're thinking of travel, see the Oftel once, that's it.
Take a photo,
get out and
kiss
go.
in front,
get out and go. Basically,
is it pretty like? Was it dirty as well?
Yes, or I think I've been before, and it's always been a dirty place. But just with the Olympics on, like times it by 10 amount of people there, like you can't get around. Your Ubers are costing you €130 to go from our hotel into the city. Like
just like $200.
Just everything just wasn't enjoyable, that aspect of it.
Yeah, wow, that's interesting. Which obviously they're hoping host the Olympics, boost the economy through
but
people
when you
traveling.
see all this negative stuff, people are like, why the fuck do I want to go
yeah. Which I guess then becomes another, countries are going to start to sit there and be like, do we want to host the Olympics? Because people will come here, expose us for our country, and therefore, like versus you come to Australia, likely there's going to be massive net positive into what people are talking about. I mean,
definitely.
A long way until 2032. Let's hope it stays that way. But it'd be obviously something to consider, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess on the topic then as well, we mentioned like before we started, like the enhanced games. It'd be interesting from an athlete's point of view to hear this. Like I'm trying to get the guys on and have a chat with them because I'd be very curious to see their side. But then, from a point of view of an athlete, you go to the Olympics, the IOC don't pay you anything. You only get paid by a country if you win a medal, of which country like Australia that we win so many medals. You max 36,000 or something for a gold or something like that. So
so it goes on top of our normal sort of pay that we get. So roughly for a yearly salary, I'm on 37.5 grand. And I get a little bit extra from Oz Cycling, so an extra 12 grand on top of that. And then from there we get our medal bonuses. Non-Olympic years, it takes you world championships. So best case scenario, it's 20 grand. So overall, I'd be on, if I was world champion like 2022, I was on about 67, and then prize money as well from that it ups it a little bit more. So I'd probably be about 72, 74 grand. Don't have to pay tax because it all comes from grants and stuff. We pay tax on prize money, but the prize money is normally about 5-6 grand a year. So we only pay tax after that 22 grand, I think, in Australia.
Even less than that, maybe.
So and the 12 grand from my federation is taxable as well. So I'm always underneath that tax threshold. So 72, 74 grand without paying tax is pretty decent. But to get that, you have to be world champion.
So we're talking
pretty fucking hard. So from 2022 and then 2023, I went silver. So it dropped down a little bit. And then bronze at the Olympic Games, it drops down to 10K medal bonus. So I've lost about 10 grand. I started off good and slowly dropping down. So for us, and also as well, getting that extra 12 grand from our federation is really good. If I was an athlete who wasn't doing cycling and wasn't labeled as podium, which is your highest classification of athletes, so you have to get top 3 in the world. If I was podium ready, it drops down to, I think, 28 grand, no medal bonus, and no extra money from our cycling federation. So 28 grand for your year is pretty...
That's not looking good.
Take about like 10 grand off for rent, groceries...
And you're an athlete, so you're eating high quality food,
you don't
supplements,
have
lots
much
of it
left in the kitty, unfortunately. So like I do struggle a lot in Australia, being like track cycling. It's not a mainstream sport. You know, I'm not an AFL player. I'm not this. I should do more for my Instagram. I really don't. If I wanted to, open up for try and get these sponsorships, but I'm lazy. I don't enjoy it. I enjoy my training and my racing. So I could do more for it. But if you were in a sport, say shooting, where it's really hard to get those sponsorships because it's a firearm and you're technically, I don't think people really like sort of shooting sponsorships in Australia. I've talked to a few and they said like, we can't get sponsorship. So we're having to pay for ammo out of our pocket. I could imagine that 28 grand would just go like that.
Yeah. And you're you're talking about the more you practice, the more you spend, especially with a sport like that.
Yeah, exactly right. So with the enhanced games, I have been following, Magnuson, James Magnuson.
Yeah.
So he's like said a lot, and he's pretty open about how much he was getting from Swimming Australia, and it's people think these athletes are well paid and stuff. We're really not. We're making ends meet. So for someone like him, a retired swimmer who has only just retired recently, I think 2018, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, go for it, man. Like, I'm not going to shun him for wanting to do this enhanced games. He's retired. Why does it matter? Like,
it's not affecting the others.
Yeah, exactly right. His career is in like normal swimming is done. So for him, and I think if he gets a world record, it's $1 million or something. Is that what they reckon? I think is it $100,000 now? Or?
So it's $1 million US, but they once again they're cheeky with how. Even I went on their website, had a look, and it's only for the 50-meter freestyle or the 100-meter sprint. No one else.
So it's a bit of misinformation that everyone gets $1 million. Yeah.
So but they are. Once again, I need to look into it a little bit more or have a chat with them. But it's that I think that every athlete will get paid a base salary though.
Yeah.
So, and that's where I think a lot of people probably have that argument. And, you know, I see like obviously through my sister seeing what female soccer players, what the limited pay and things. So you have the argument. I understand that if no one's watching your sport, how can we expect to get paid? Sport is a business, whatever. The Olympics, a lot of people are watching that. People need to get paid. So whether that needs to be a percentage
of the money, basically.
No, well, like,
it's ridiculous. Well, you go for free, basically. Like, you don't, and only get a medal bonus if you're.
And that's
from
not
Australia.
from the IOC. That's from your country. So I just wonder whether like that, even that push, whether people are for or against the enhanced games, it's like that push to pay the athlete for the show they're putting on. Really, like
definitely.
You can't put on the Olympics without the athletes. Sure, you need that stage.
Fourth or fifth most watched sporting event in the world.
Yeah, it must be what? Super Bowl, maybe World Cup.
Yeah, I swear I've seen this on Reels
World
many
Cup
times.
is definitely, I think, number one.
Number 2 is Tour de France because it goes over 21 days and it's just accumulative.
Yeah, true.
World Cup, I think, is maybe number 1, like Soccer World Cup because it goes over a few weeks. But like so much Olympics is definitely in that top 5 and us athletes don't see a single cent from that. I'm still grateful for the whole experience and everything, but people just think I'm this, you know, like big baller basically, but I'm far from it. Just trying to make a living. I'm just trying to make a living.
Yeah.
But back to enhanced games. I listened to the Joe Rogan podcast about it, and the bloke on there actually said track cycling was his favorite sport, but I don't think they've actually included it into their games. Because it would be interesting to see if there is any sort of retired people that would have raced it and stuff and what they could do. And how does that compare to us?
Definitely. And that's the point. Like, you still have to be good in the first place. Like, a lot of people will be like, oh, I'll just jump on the juice. I'm like, no, mate,
not that easy.
You still have to be really good.
Yeah.
And then you hop on that and that makes you a little bit better.
Yeah, correct.
Like, you still are fundamentally an insane athlete in the first place.
The weird thing with the enhanced games that I found funny was like, they have testing within the enhanced games to make sure you're not going too far with it, like obviously to protect them,
safety
and
sort of thing.
But it's weird like having testing on the enhanced games, like
isn't that your whole thing?
It's such a weird sort of predicament. Like, we're going to test you to make sure you're not cheating in the cheating games. Double cheating basically. Like,
so I think some substances like peptides and things like that, not necessarily illegal. They're just banned substances from WIDA. So I wonder, like, it would be interesting to get the clarification of like, are they allowed to take illegal substances, or is it you can take testosterone and things like that, which are stuff you could get from the doctor if you wanted to as well. But I don't know. What's your take on like? Do you see it being something that like athletes would, because you don't have to be enhanced.
Yeah, exactly.
Like athletes, someone like yourself would be like, if cycling was in there, well, I'll compete because there's a salary.
Yeah.
Is it something you consider?
It's hard to say because the camera's on. But I mean, James Magnussen, you know, $1 million to break a record. That's pretty hard to turn down.
True.
And once your career's done, you know, your career's done really. So in 10 years' time, if it was still going, if it did take off, and it'd be hard to turn down that if I could organize it to like 250 to break that 250 meter record. But I've already got it as a non-enhanced person, so
you're like, you need to come for me. I don't need to come for you.
Right. Other people can try break my record or something. I can go for it. But it's definitely a weird one because everyone has their different opinions on it. Like, oh, you're a drug cheat, this and that, but you're not actually competing in normal sport.
Yeah, as long as you don't then go back after. Yeah,
exactly right. Like, you could never go back. It's definitely for your twilight of your career once your career would be fully done. But then also as well, you're not at your prime as well. So it's just hard. In a perfect world, you could get Usain Bolt in his prime and get him juiced and see where he goes. But in a perfect world, you can't do that. So it's this catch-22 of you're never actually going to quite see the best of the best do it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm excited to see where it goes. I'm excited to compare times. I'm sure everyone's excited to compare times between this and that and see what's better, who's better at the Olympics, this and that. Like, it's going to be a big thing. When is it again?
I think they're aiming for early next year.
Yeah, correct.
Or late next year.
In America, is that where they're going to do it?
I haven't seen anything on confirmation. I'd assume so.
I think on the JRE thing, they were talking about just doing it in America.
Yeah, it's probably the best place to do it if you're going to do it as well.
They love it over there more 100%. Than anywhere else, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think it's just also that acceptance that it's like, I think they even say it, the co-founders, they're like, we're not trying to be the Olympics.
Yeah, correct.
We're putting on something else, and if you want to be involved, you can be involved.
It's a spectacle, and it's entertainment.
Exactly.
And if people are going to watch it, then people are going to watch it. Like, it's going to be big. So, good on them, really. Like, something different.
Well, that's it. You know, like, and hopefully then that just puts maybe a bit of pressure, say, on the IOC to be like, or if they feel like they're losing some athletes to it, to be like, maybe we should just, I don't know, every athlete gets 10 grand or something. It doesn't have to be like, $100,000 or whatever it is, but like a salary that allows them to, you know, just survive a little easier.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, you know, Olympics being only once every 4 years as well, that's hard enough in itself. Like, if you're only being able to put yourself on this big stage every 4 years, I think they're aiming to do enhanced games every year. So that gives you the platform more often for sponsors and things like that, which probably sponsorship may get harder if you're on steroids and shit. So, I don't know, it's messy, but I think
There's
will be
interesting. There's a lot of moving parts, hey? Like, everything.
Do you know of anyone that's like openly said they're interested in competing?
Not in track cycling. No.
Yeah, because I think, what do they say? Maybe track and field, swimming, combat sports, which would be...
Yeah, they said maybe like a wrestling or something, or like a combat
Definitely
sports.
MMA and boxing, I think.
Yeah.
And I think they're considering the others. But I think to them, they're like, it's a business. It'll depend on if we get enough views on those things as well.
Definitely. And that's popular sports.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, MMA, massive, UFC, bang. Definitely. But it'll be, you know, whether guys, they have to break away from the UFC to do that and all those sort of things. So I think it'll be interesting. But I think, you know, they claim 44% of athletes, like,
from that survey.
What is it? Like, they've taken performance enhancing steroids?
Which is ridiculous. Hey, like, I can't, it's a mind boggling stat. And for me, that's, if it is true, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm better than people 44%.
Exactly.
That's almost half the field that would be juice. And for me, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm completely natural, and I'm beating these people. Like,
that's a pretty cool
That's
feeling,
like a good thing, but at the same time, 44% is a mind-boggling stat. Like, almost half of Olympic athletes have admitted to it.
Yeah,
I don't know where they get that from, because I feel like they wouldn't admit to it. It's
even
a weird
if it's anonymous
thing.
I feel like wouldn't. You need some good, like, I'd like block your IP, have a VPN, do that.
I almost can't believe the stat. I don't know where they've got it from, but I
don't know whether it's
a crazy stat, definitely.
I wonder if their breakdown is that medalist or non-medalist,
or retired athletes maybe would be open to saying that, but they said current.
You'd get your medal strips still.
Yeah, exactly right.
If you admitted to.
Yeah, it's a weird one, definitely.
Yeah, so then I go like, okay, how much is that stat true?
Yeah.
Like, take it with a grain of salt, sort of thing. Yeah. Like, I don't know, and I like to believe that. I know people are definitely on stuff, but I like to believe that, give people benefit of the doubt.
Exactly,
they're an insane athlete. They put in the work. Until proven guilty.
Yeah, definitely.
You're an athlete that's done really well. Has there been anyone in track cycling that you know of that has been busted?
Yeah. So the biggest one in recent time was 2018 or 19. One of the Kieran world champion, who's Colombian, tested positive 6 months after and got a 4-year ban, and he's just come back as well, and he's terrible. Okay. But yeah, it's funny because he's been stripped of that world championship title, as you should, and he's still got it in his Instagram bio, world champion. And it's just like,
let's get some fact checkers
over
here.
Come on, bro. Like, delusional. And I think there's definitely some countries in the past, Russians, who we don't know in track cycling, because obviously that whole Icarus thing, the track and field, swimming, they all popped and were sanctioned. Russians, it's hard to say, but none of them technically popped in track cycling. They were innocent. If they were just within that country and just so happened, they're just doing their thing. And athletics had popped. But at the same time, I would probably believe it's every sport.
Yeah, you're like, do they really choose just track, not cycling, to not do it?
Exactly. It's a hard one, definitely.
Yeah.
And with that as well, your Eastern sort of European countries, we've got wider worldwide that sort of tests us. Like I get bloods and urine tested probably say twice a month.
Wow.
Yeah. On the lead up for Olympics quite a lot. Probably there was a period there I got tested twice in 2 weeks.
Shit.
So if
they
you
just
were,
rock up?
I'm on a whereabouts system. So if I have an overnight address, I have to put that on my app and they can come test me there. So, girlfriend's house, holiday, anywhere I go overseas, I've got to put in my whereabouts so they can test me. But I hope they're doing that in China.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a hard. I feel like Aussie sport is definitely probably one of the most clean in the world. So countries like China, Russia, who've had this tarnished sort of record, it is hard to give them the benefit of a doubt, and people definitely are happy to, the guy that bet Kyle Chalmers, everyone's happy to rip him down because he's from China. If he was a phenomenal athlete and won on the day, good on him. But at the same time, if he wasn't, then it's a hard one because the Chinese athletes, they give him guilty until proven innocent. And how do you prove your innocence, basically? It takes time of, all these tests and winning more and stuff. It's a complex issue, but the most we can do is just focus on ourselves. And
exactly.
It is hard to, look at those countries who test positive quite often and go, fuck, we're racing against China against this thing and stuff.
And that's the hard thing as well, because you may be sat there, say in the call room, or you're next to someone like you're about to start your race, you look across and they are from one of these countries that are known for it.
Yeah.
And you doubt it, but they're sitting there potentially going, it's not me.
Yeah, exactly.
And so then you're kind of like, I feel bad, I can't help that thought either.
You're in two minds, basically.
Yeah.
You can't help but think, oh, you fucking dopers and this and
exactly.
that. But at the same time, you're like, man, that would feel pretty shit if you were from that country and you're clean your whole career and you've just got this black cloud just following you around of you. It's definitely a complex issue.
So because the Russia, they were had to compete under the Olympic Committee of Russia in Tokyo.
Neutral flag. So,
but then this Olympics are barely there, but that's more to do with the war.
Yeah, I think it's just a mixture of both. And I think these sanctions are just going to go on indefinitely now until either the war's over. I think they're sanctions from the sort of 2018 period where they were doping for the Winter Olympics and 2016 period. I think those sanctions were lifted after Tokyo, but now it's just the war stuff.
Yeah.
And the Israeli guy I said earlier, he's from Russia. He's a Russian sort of athlete, has moved to Israel and now races for Israel. He's still a Russian athlete.
So then there's ways, you can kind of slip the system.
Ways around it. So I mean, sus.
It's just,
it's hard because if he was completely clean, then man, good on you. You're racing for another country and can still do the sport you love. But it's definitely interesting.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully maybe then we see, the enhanced games becomes a thing and these athletes don't feel the need to cheat in the Olympics.
They
just take your drugs and go over there.
The money sort of, which I think if they were cheating, they're probably doing it for financial gain.
100%.
That would be the main thing, I'd say.
But then do they want to be labelled as a cheat? Once again, it's not cheating, but they don't want that label attached to them. And then if someone then halfway through their career decided to be like, I'm going to do the enhanced games, I'm on gear, they'd be like, oh, so you've been taking it the whole time?
Yeah.
Like, no, just now. I'm like, oh, sure, buddy. Like, that's a bit sus in itself.
Definitely.
Like, so I guess it's a complex sort of
definitely
issue there. And I guess one we'll see play out in the near future.
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited for it to go ahead and stuff and see the entertainment it puts out and see the times from everyone and compare it to this Olympics. It should be pretty fun.
Let's hope maybe track cycling does get in there in the end. And if not, like push for it in the future years just so you can be like, still couldn't beat my record.
Yeah, exactly right. Hey, that would be pretty awesome.
Oh, 100%. Well, I really appreciate your time, Leigh. You've done fucking awesome stuff. Plenty more to come. And can't wait to watch you at the next competition.
Yeah, sweet. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, man. Cheers.